Assalamu alaikum, my YouTube family. I hope you all are fine and enjoying good health. And today's topic of 1123 O Levels English is the speeches. Speech writing was the most important topic because, last year exam, the speech question was there, and we have done it in the last, session as well. So, this is the speech writing topic. We are going to first learn the features of speeches. We will be learning how to write a speech. Then, I'll be sharing the key features of the question, and we'll also talk about how to write it basically. All right, all the nitty gritties and what are in it, and also the exam style question will be shared with you, and then the specs of it, and the task will be assigned to you both today. So you are requested to please show maximum input because you guys have to read and I have to explain. All right, so Roman and Owen, please be active. Who is going to read this features of speeches? And before moving on to the features of speeches, I would want you both to answer me that what is a speech? What are speeches in O levels English or in general? What are speeches? Yes, please.
Miss speech is when you convey your message to
Mhm.
everyone in for example in your school you can convey your message to all the peoples your uh, all the ideas of the topic of any topic.
Exactly. It's yes, exactly. And what about own? How we need to write it? Yes, so speech basically, whether it's IGCSE, whether it's GCSE, whether it's O levels, it's an exam typically follows a specific format where you know that even in the other formats, there's a proper introduction, the body, and conclusion. But where in speech, your method of, convey a thought or message to the reader should be with the correct pronunciation expression. Because when you are doing the speech, and when you are writing the speech, there is a huge difference between these two things. When you are doing the speech, when you are delivering a speech in your school or in your college, you are quite different in that. Your highs and lows are different. You're going to start your speech with a proper motivating language, convincing language, and your tone will be highly motivated. And whereas when you are writing the speech, you need to maintain your tone in it too, because this you can only maintain it that when you are embedding the exact vocabulary which requires those you can say those compelling words, convincing words, you have to use them, right? So these are the mixed mode text. And how are they written? We need to develop a working draft of the outline. What is a working draft? Before a speech, you are requested to write, if you let's suppose the word limit is 250 to 350 words, right? 25 marks question. So you need to make up your mind that okay, I'm going to write like 6 to 7 paragraphs. So what I need to embed in every paragraph, what I will speak in every paragraph, ठीक है कि मैं क्या मैसेज कन्वे करूंगी in each and every paragraph, and how will be my opening, what will be my ending. Got my point? Did you get it? Okay, now moving on towards the features of speeches, I would want somebody to please give a reading to it, then we can get an idea what is a feature of speech. Yes, Roman. Do the needful, please. Roman, you have to read it. Where is Roman? She's left. Okay, they are written texts, but unlike articles or letters, they are delivered orally, and so the audience is more immediate. Yes, Roman, can you give a reading?
Miss, may I?
Okay, sure, on you may.
Speeches are a mixed mode text. They are written text, but unlike articles or letters, they are delivered orally, and so the audience is more immediate. Real speeches are spoken and received at the same time in the same room. This often has implications for for
Yes,
performance
performance
content.
context. Performance context.
Professional speech writer and speakers
Okay,
often
listen,
include
Own, when you are speaking is speech, it's not is speech. You're not going to give a sound of I. You have to write speech, speech. You have to join sir with her and you have to say speech, not is speech, not is spoken, not is section. I nahi lagana before S. Got it?
oh,
It's going to be professional speech. S को P के साथ join करके professional speech writers. Okay, carry on.
where the speaker consequently talk to the audience and try to
Illicit
elicit
responses. Okay,
response.
fine. Okay, fine. Thank you so much. Just a minute. I need somebody to read so quick because we need to wind up this and then we have to go to the explanation. And speakers often include sections where the speaker consciously talks to the audience and tries to elicit responses by asking questions or trying to create some sort of interaction between speaker and audience. यहाँ से आगे, I would want Roman या Mahanul to give a reading. This approach may work well in real life situations. What is the approach? Please just read out. Let's see what is that and what is the director writing response about.
Miss, may I?
Yeah, please. This approach.
This approach may work well in real life situations, but be careful when you write a speech for a directed writing response. Carefully use the occasional direct reference to the imagined audience can work well, but if you use too often, it can distract from your argument. If you do not feel confident about doing this, avoid direct appeal to an imagined audience altogether. On the page, your speech will appear in paragraph. There is no need to use subheadings, although there may be time when bullet points are appropriate if you are delivering points in a list. Use the text activity to get a sense of tone and narrative aspect of a speech.
All right. So what are they talking about in this?
Here is the
Okay, carry on. Keep reading.
Here is the opening of a response to the speech writing task. Read it and then we'll discuss. A part, the way in which the speech opens compared to the previous article and later examples in this chapter. B part, the way the writer has tried to engage the imagined audience. C part, how figurative language have been used. D part, the views that the speaker gives and the manner in which they introduce them.
All right. So, what are the key features of the speeches? Yes, Owen, Mahanur, please speak up. What are the key features? What are the main things which they are trying to convey to us that how we need to, structure our speeches? Okay, if we'll talk about just the
Direct
features. Mm-hmm.
a speech for a directed writing response.
Yes, exactly. We write it for a directed writing response. We know this, and we are going to, talk about this in that real speeches are spoken, received at the same time in the same room, right? Why? Because speaker consciously talks to the audience. This is something very important that you have to keep in mind when you are delivering a speech. You're talking to the audience. You are not at all showing your style that you are talking in, a very good English. Your English is quite fluent and you are speaking in a manner that everybody will appreciate. If they won't understand what you are speaking, if you're not going to create some sort of interaction with the audiences, then your speech is quite vague. All right. So, audience and speaker connection is very important in the speech because this approach may work well in real life situations. But when you write a speech for direct writing response, the occasional direct reference to the imagined audience, you need to then, when you are writing, you also need to imagine that, the audience are sitting right next to me. So, you need to create the argument like that. So if you are not going to feel confident about, creating your speech while writing, then, of course, then your Writing will not give a feel of that, that you are doing the real speech. It should give a feel that you are doing the real speech. There's no need to use any subheadings, although there may be times when bullet points are appropriate if you are delivering points in a list. Kahin pe, if see that we need to jot down things in a list, then you can use this feature. Otherwise, that's absolutely fine. You can go in a flow of writing continuously. It's a continuous writing, right? Okay, sometimes the next activity to get a sense of tone and narrative aspects of speech. Sometimes, there are speeches which gives a narrative aspect. कैसे narrative aspect देती है speech? Narrative means story aspect. तो कैसे हमारी speeches में story aspect आता है? How we need to give it? Yes, who is going to tell me? Please tell me. Yes, on. Mahnur is not speaking. How we give the narrative effect in the speeches. What is the narrative aspect of speeches? That when we are delivering a speech, we should have to give a story touch. एक anecdote होता है ना? Anecdote is a term which means when you are telling interesting stories. All right, so you have to put this anecdote in your speech writing to sometimes you need to you can say tell a story or recall a story or a memory of your in the speeches, so as to give the reference of that specific time. All right, then moving on to the opening of a response to the speech writing task. The way in which the speech opens compared to the previous article and later examples in this chapter. Okay, okay, how figurative language has been used. This is all about how we need to structure it. Okay, moving on to the next page. Let me present my screen once again. Okay, this is the text. Which way now? Mahanur, please give a reading to this text.
Good afternoon. Last month, I was at a fork in the road, a point in my life when I needed to choose which route to take. Should I follow the path of education and continue the studies I had enjoyed so much? Or should I take a less familiar path, a new, challenging, and slightly daunting one? Perhaps, like you are now, I spent much time weighing up the possibilities. For some people, further education is an obvious choice. It gives you the opportunity to really understand the subjects important to you. Undoubtedly, further study increases your knowledge and the relationship you have with teachers are different. You feel you are treated like an adult, but after careful thought, I chose a different path. I wanted to challenge myself in a new setting. Starting a career was the right thing to do, and I'm going to tell you why it will also be the right thing for you too.
So now see how structured this speech is, how they have changed the sentence structures. Perhaps like you are now, starting a career was the right thing to do. They're not writing like I have thought to start a career to do the right thing. They are choosing the sentence structures which are short and catchy, which are transformed sometimes. All right. For some people, further education is an obvious choice. Okay, so this is something, the choice of words. Now, moving on to the next text. Wait a minute. Okay, so subtitles for articles and speeches help to shape your work. A good title can intrigue your reader or signal a point of view. It can be helpful to choose a distinctive phrase from the body of your work or a figurative idea to use as a catchy title. It is often easier to write a title once you have finished your work. You can also create a title when you are done with your speech writing, all right, because it's quite important when you are shaping your a speech. At the end, you can also give the title. So a good title is something which will intrigue your reader, or which will explain the whole point of view of your speech. Okay, got it. Now, different voices and different views. Now, who is going to read it? Roman or Owen? Please give a reading. Owen, please give a reading to this part. Directed writing activities, there is always an element of
Directed writing activities, there are always an element of imagination. In this chapter, you have been asked to imagine you have a cousin who wants career advice, and that you have been asked to speak at a young person's conference.
Mm. Nonetheless,
Nonetheless,
good.
most students choose to write as a version of themselves. In other words, they use a voice. Yes, I can't read the
And
word,
okay, and give ideas.
and give ideas that are close to their own. Yet sometimes interesting effect occurs when this
You,
word's the next word.
you, when you deliberately
You deliberately choose a voice and or view that is different to yours, almost as
are,
if you play
if you are playing a,
if you are playing a role.
yes. Okay,
Read the
so.
speech.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, this was all, basically, what are they saying? The main thing which they are saying that there is an element of imagination. What is the element of imagination? That you have to imagine you have a cousin who wants career advice. All right. Now, have you ever given any career advice to somebody? You are going to give a career advice. You will definitely create a motivated tone in your voice. You will say, my dear cousin, please just choose this. Don't go with the metric system. Always go with the O levels. It is highly appreciated that you should choose O levels because it's a Cambridge degree. If you will be choosing metric, there is no such degree in metric. All right, it's just confined to this Lahore board. But when you are choosing the Cambridge, ठीक है, आप उसको convince कर रहे हो with your voice, and your tone is quite different because you are giving the career advice. वहां पर आ जाता है ना that you are trying to give a speech. So sometimes interesting effects occur when you deliberately choose a voice. तो आप वहां पर अपनी voice choose करते हो. Your voice is different, as you are speaking to normal, with your family and friends. That time your voice is different. So kickstarting your career in pairs, discuss the voice the student has chosen to write in, the benefits of writing in this type of voice. अब आप दो लोग ये read करें. I will give you almost like 5 minutes. We are not going to read it loud, but you all have to read it quietly, and then we will be discussing that क्या tone इसमें use हुई हुई है. Your time starts now. Yes, is it done? Who is going to explain me what is the type of the voice the student has chosen to write in, and what are the benefits of writing in this type of voice? Who is going to tell me?
Yes. He is explaining something, giving a career advice to him
Mm-hmm.
for his future.
Okay. And what is the career advice he is giving?
Miss about continuing his studies
Mm.
that he have spent past 10 years in education system.
All right. Okay, fine. So, continuing the studies. So you have, assessed it from the first question. Should I continue with my studies or should I enter the world of work? So, these are the two questions which he is posing in the beginning, which is showing that, he is quite confused in these two, because he might be done with the studies and but he wants to do the, maybe additional studies. So, what do you guys think, Roman and Mahanur? What is he actually, saying? What is his tone? Because it's a very basic kind of tone, seems like. Good morning. When I was your age, I faced the same choice you are facing. Should I continue with my studies or should I enter the world of work? On the one hand, continuing with my studies seemed a natural thing to do. After all, I had spent the past 10 years in education. So why would I want to change? I'm sure many of you feel the same way. Education is a fine thing. Mastering your subjects is a joy. There are people who love the challenge of fresh academic knowledge and who thrive on exams. I admire those people. But then I thought about me and I realized that I wanted something different. So I chose a different route and I'm so glad that I did. This morning, I'm going to explain why starting your career now might be the best thing you will ever do. So, seems like it's a very basic kind of tone. Now, you are going to write your own response to the speech task in addition to discussing, evaluating, giving your own views. You should think carefully about the voice you use, plan and sequence your points. I think when you are, somebody who is asking you about the career advice, your tone should be quite convincing. This was very basic. There are no such benefits of this kind of voice. I feel like it's basic. He is telling, some facts, he's giving some information, but it's less. There's no convincing tone in it. Consider how you could engage your audience, use a range of appropriate vocabulary, language techniques, and punctuation choices. Demonstrate accurate spelling and punctuation. This is all we are already, discussing, but let's see what's in the next page. In groups, you are going to make a collection of articles, speeches, and letters from a variety of sources. So we cannot do, things in the groups. So we will be doing this exam style question. Read both text and then answer the question. What I'm going to do is that today in this session, we will be reading the text. One of you will be reading the text, which you are going to do in your, next task. But I'm going to underline the key points. Okay. So let's just share this with the sniping tool once again. And then somebody will read it and I am going to underline it. Okay. Roman or Mahanur, anybody, please just start reading the exam style question which you have to do of the speech writing. This is a speech writing task. The question will be on the next page, but I need to just, underline the main. Home is where the heart is. Okay, this is the first title. Text A.
Miss, may I?
Yeah, please.
Home holds a place in everyone's heart, no matter how old they are. Some people travel the world in search of excitement. Perhaps they find it, but those things are temporary. You can find all you need in a country of your birth. Everyone needs people around them, especially family. That is why I choose to live in my hometown and have done for the past 60 years. I know that if I need help, humor, or just a chat, I can rely on the people I have known all of my life. But it's not just a feeling of security I get from living here. I generally have everything I need. Why would I need to travel abroad to see spectacular sights when I have them here? We have some beautiful scenery right here. Why would I need to visit the cities of the world? I can read about them in books. Do I really need all of those different shopping experiences? Anything I really need can be delivered here. My advice to young people is to learn about and celebrate the land of your birth. It's the culture you were born into, so embrace it. For, foreign land are
Foreign.
interesting.
It's foreign
Foreign,
lands.
la- foreign lands are interesting and fine for the occasional holidays. Holiday, but home is where the heart is.
All right, but home is where the heart is. So he's talking about, the importance of home, where your family is living. And then, they are continuously posing some rhetorical questions, which are quite obvious, but it is actually making us think and, wonder that what actually the main thought of this person is. This is text A, where, she's referring to home, the family, the warmth of your family, the people around you whom you can rely on, you can trust on. So you can change some words and link ideas to it, and explain the side, the positive side of the benefits of living with your family and home. There are people who are homeless. There are people who are not having family members with them. There are people who are suffering with depression. So you can of course give reference of those two. Moving on to the next. Just a minute. Next one is this one. It's a big wide world. So on the next second, paragraph, what are they doing is they're, explaining the extreme opposite thing. It's a big wide world. So this is showing that we have to visit that big wide world. Now, Mahanur, please read it, or Owen, if you want to read, you can also do it. Yes, please, somebody start it.
Ma'am, may I?
Yes, please.
When I was 6, the end of my street was as far as I dared to go. Now I'm 26 and I live on the other side of the world. Living abroad is fascinating and something everybody should try. I was brought up in a small town in Sri Lanka. I couldn't have wished for a nicer place to grow up. I moved to Canada when I was 18 to study mathematics. At first, it was like living on the moon. The people were different, the food was different, the landscape was different. It would have been easy to return home, but very soon I grew to love the place. I grew as a person and realized I could rely upon myself rather than my family. Living overseas has taught me how to get along with people. I found out that underneath all the superficial differences, humans are very similar. Living overseas is a great way to learn tolerance and respect for other humans. After university, I took a job and lived in Lahore. I loved the busy nature of the place. The food and people were fantastic. I made some good friends there. At the moment, I'm living in Italy and have met the man I want to marry. I still visit home. My parents love hearing the stories of my travels.
Okay, so in a nutshell, it is just a story of a person who is talking about, from the beginning till the end in a nutshell, that what she did. And it is all about, she's explaining it, alone and living abroad is fascinating. She's explaining the extreme other side of it. But what you need to do is that you guys have to create a balance. In first text, they were talking about text A was all about, living with your family and living with your family and in your home, keeping a proper family. And then, in text B, there is an extreme other thing where they are telling about the, exposure and experience of living alone, living abroad. It is fascinating. You meet different people. You meet, you enjoy different food. The landscape is different. You can go anywhere and explore things. So it was, the person who was explaining, then she said that, that superficial differences, that humans are very similar, but living overseas is a great way. It's to learn tolerance, to patience, and also respect for other humans. So when you're alone, you learn a lot of things to, manage yourself. And then she said that when she came back home, the people were fantastic here in Lahore. She made some good friends, and also, maybe she was detached with her parents, but connected with them, through phone. But it's an extreme different thing which she's explaining. So you have been asked to speak to a group of students on the topic of future life plans. Specifically, you are to present views on the benefits of living overseas or living in your home country. Now you have two extreme things which you have to explain when you are older. In your speech, you should discuss different views about the topic, discuss different views about the topic, give your own views about whether young people would benefit more from living overseas or staying in their home country. So you have to give the views about whether young people would benefit more from living overseas or staying in their own home country. Because when you are young, you do a lot of mistakes, when you are living alone. You get yourself into trouble, and there are only, family members who are beside you, could solve your problems at this part of the moment, all right? But there are people who are tuned to it. There are people who are living abroad, and they are even, they get separated from their family quite soon, right? So you can talk about these two things in, in a balanced way. You should base your speech on what you have read in both texts. दोनों टेक्स्ट में से जो आपने रीड किया है, you have to explain that in a form of a story and also in a speech, but be careful to use your own words. अपने ही words में उसको करना है, and also link this, address both of the bullet points and write about 250 to 350 words. This is 25 marks question. Speech writing is quite easy, not difficult, because this topic is easy, right? So you guys can easily create the topic. You can do some research on it and create the better possible thing you can, right? So did you understand it? Any questions which you want to ask, please just let me know.
Miss, can you explain the questions again?
Okay, the question is that you've been asked to speak to a group of students. You are talking to a group of students standing on the stage. You are talking to a group of students on the topic of future life plans. Main keyword is future life plans. All right, the future life plans. And then you are to present views on the, while explaining those future life plans, you need to explain that whether the person who is living overseas get benefited, or whether the person who is living in home country. Because when you are living overseas, there are both things, benefits and drawbacks. Even when you are living in your home country, there are both things, benefits and drawbacks, right? So you have to explain in a balanced way. All right. Keeping in mind, it's a big wide world. From this one, you have to extract the story of the girl who is explaining about her, experience living in abroad. And then there is a person who is explaining about, the experience of living in their own home country. So you can start like, every person has their own experiences. But you can also give your own opinions. So they are saying that give your own views. But I reckon, or I believe that living in abroad is extremely arduous, because when you are not having any family, then you feel or face challenges a lot, isn't it so? So even you can explain the charms which are of living in the abroad, but you have to convince the reader by creating a balance. We're left with less than 1 minute. I have to end up the session. You can ask me any question which you want to in the WhatsApp group. All right. Ending up the session. Take care, everybody. Allah Hafiz. I hope it's all clear now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.